throughout today's class. So let's go ahead and take it away with today's class with Wendy.
Okay. Hi, my name is Wendy Wesley. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist, and I'm here in St. Petersburg, Florida in my kitchen. And several months ago, I went downtown St. Pete and I had a bowl, a restaurant style bowl at one of those places. Well, I didn't say the name. It was the Naked Farmer, and they wanted like $18 for the bowl. And I thought, wow, that's a bit of money. And so that's when I started practicing making bowls at home. And these bowls are what I chose to do today to talk about foods that will help improve your metabolism, meaning that these foods, everything I'm going to put in here is incredibly nutrient dense. Everything is going to have adequate protein, and it's going to have lots of fiber. And the nice thing about that is that I'm always trying to find easy weeknight meals for people, and lunches too, where they could eat the food and then an hour later they're not back in the kitchen or back in the break room looking for something else to eat. And when food is is highly processed, meaning lots of refined flours and lots of added sugars, my clients report to me over and over again, I eat and I just never seem to get full. I'm always kind of peckish or hungry or kind of going around saying, what's next? And so the way I help people improve metabolism, lose weight, better manage diabetes, better manage their cardiac disease is to slowly work to remove the processed foods from their diet a little bit at a time, and replace them with foods that are minimally processed. And so what I'm going to make today, all of these foods essentially are, with the exception of the cheese I'm going to put on, and even cheeses are some of the less processed foods, as long as they're not like the cheese foods like things like Velveeta and stuff like that. So everything I'm going to put on my bowl today is a non-processed food. I've got some garbanzo beans for my vegans. I've got some chicken. I've got some nuts and some seeds. I have lots of vegetables, and I have the grain. And the grain is kind of the star of the show of these bowls. And that's where I want to start talking about the grains. And if you didn't hear, I want you to know at any point you can put a question in the chat, or you can, I think it's okay to take yourself off mute and say, hey, I've got a question. It's just much better that way instead of me just kind of running my mouth for the whole time, because I could just talk about this till I'm blue in the face. I'm very, very passionate about minimally processed foods and helping people get ultra processed foods out of their diet. I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. When I worked at the hospital, I observed that the people who were in the bed at the hospital, they weren't there because of tomatoes, they weren't there because of chicken, or because of too many walnuts or too many apples. They were there because of, in my opinion, what I could see was a diet that consisted largely of ultra processed foods. I'm reading this great book right now called Ultra Processed People. It's by an English physician named Chris Van Tulleken. And he defines ultra processed foods very, very simply. It's just two steps. One, does it come wrapped in plastic? And then two, does it have an ingredient in it that you don't find in a domestic kitchen? So those are the things like the guar gums, the xanthan gums, emulsifiers like lecithin, flavor enhancers. So if you're reading your ingredients, and all of you have heard this, if you can't pronounce it, or if it's something you're not familiar with, maybe it's time to kind of take a second look at these kinds of foods. And with his definition, I just absolutely love it, because if you don't have it in a domestic kitchen, meaning you can't find it in your pantry, in your refrigerator, or in your freezer, and it comes wrapped in plastic, it may be an ultra processed food. I'm finding more and more added sugars in foods as I do more of this work. And this one story I love to tell is that I was evaluating a food log for a client, and she liked to go to Firehouse Subs and get their tuna sub. And she was really on the right side of things, thinking, I'm choosing tuna fish. It's the better choice over, the hams and the salamis and things like that. And she was right about that, except I looked at the ingredients, because Firehouse Subs is a chain. They are required by law to put all of their nutrition facts information online, or they must publish it for consumers. And I found 12 grams of added sugar in only the tuna fish. Now, we're not talking about the bread or the chips or any of the things. It's just the tuna fish. And I thought, oh my goodness, if it's in tuna fish, where else is it? And that was when I really started to very, very closely examine food labels for added sugars. Now, we have a new nutrition facts label, and it's about 2-3 years old to us. So pretty much I've noticed all the foods, because the food manufacturers had a couple years to roll out the new food label. So now all of our foods in the grocery store have our new nutrition facts label. And I'll just grab this. These are just walnuts. These are called raw California walnut baking pieces. This is a Trader Joe's product. And so here we have the new nutrition facts label. The thing you might notice about the new nutrition facts label, that's what everything sees, is that the calories here are nice and big. And we must compare every single number on the nutrition facts label to the serving size. And so our serving size here for these walnuts is about 1/4 cup, and that's 1/4 cup whole pieces, because these pieces come to us like whole, like this size. Well, not whole, but you know, in bigger sizes, not pulverized. And so all of the numbers on this label, on any nutrition facts label, will apply to the serving size. So it's very important you kind of know the amount that you're talking about. And then secondly, our nutrition facts label now includes something that I wish we'd had a long time ago, and it's called added sugars. So under total carbohydrates, we will see total sugars, and then under that we will see included in grams numbers of added sugars. Now, these walnuts are a unprocessed food. They have been chopped. They are raw. They haven't been cooked, but if they're cooked, that's fine. They haven't even added salt to these. And so you look at this and it says ingredients, walnuts. It's a single ingredient food. And I would classify this as an unprocessed food because it has one ingredient, and that is the walnuts. And so because it is unprocessed, it includes 0 grams of added sugar. Here's another, and I'm going to put these walnuts on our bowl. I'm making a Mediterranean grain bowl, which if you have some simple things in the kitchen, you can easily put these together and you don't have to spend $18 on a bowl out. You can just quickly put these together, and that's why I love restaurant style bowls for easy weeknight meals. I'm going to put one together once I stop talking to you about nutrition facts labels and I get to cooking. Also, when I went downtown and I had the bowl, what they offered as an option was this farro. And so I started buying farro. I bought this at Publix. You can just get it at Publix. It's where you find the rice. It's on the rice aisle. And it cooks up just like rice. Very, very easy. Again, this is a single ingredient food. Ingredients are farro. That's it. That's it. It's a grain. It's used in a lot of Italian cooking. Cooks up nice and has a kind of a chewy, nutty flavor. Absolutely love it. Fiber's really high, and the protein is too. The grain I'm going to use today is quinoa. Again, a unprocessed food. The ingredients are one ingredient, contains quinoa, no added sugars, cooks up just like rice. So I heat up a pan of water, 1 cup, and then let that boil. I add a 1/2 cup of quinoa, put it on the low burner for 20 minutes, and it's done. That's it. I put a lid on it, and then that's done. It cooks up just like rice. I've had trouble with rice in the past. Probably you have too. Sometimes you cook rice and it just doesn't get done all the way through. I'll tell you, farro and quinoa have never let me down. It always comes out cooked to perfection. I don't even have to think about it. Put it on the burner, lid on, 20 minutes, done. Very, very easy. So that's why it's one of my favorites, this and farro. I still cook rice, but every now and then rice just, it's kind of heartbreaking sometimes because it doesn't cook all the way through for some reason. I don't have like the magic juju, the magic rice juju, just perfect. So, okay, so what I have here is, this is some tabbouleh. Now, if you're like, what the heck is tabbouleh? Tabbouleh is a Mediterranean salad, and in it, it's very, very simple. This is some chopped parsley, some chopped cilantro, and some cooked quinoa. Now I bought this at the Publix deli. They had this on sale, and I went ahead and bought some. It's very, very inexpensive. I think they wanted like $2.99 a pound for it. It's very, very inexpensive. And I'm going to use that today as my base. And the reason I'm doing that is that I want to give you, if you need it, permission to go ahead and shop in the deli section for some of these kind of building blocks. It's a thing I had to come up with for my clients called gather and arrange. So you go to the grocery store and you gather a bunch of different foods, and you come home and you arrange them into meals. It's not a lot of, it doesn't have to be cooking. You don't have to get out the pots and the pans and all of that. Just a little bit of chopping, a little bit of shopping, and then arranging, and you can put together this beautiful restaurant style bowl like that, no problem. So I bought this because I wanted to show you that if you didn't want to cook the grain, if you didn't want to go through the grain cooking part, you can buy these prepared grain salads at the deli. And you could buy a prepared pasta salad. I've seen prepared farro salads at the deli. I've seen cauliflower salads, which is it's cauliflower, kind of using cauliflower as the grain. I'm sure you've seen cauliflower rice. That's another great thing to use as the base of a bowl, and you can buy it cooked, all fluffed up, chopped, and frozen. So you just buy this frozen bag of cauliflower rice and let it thaws really quick, and then you're in business. So there's all kinds of bases you can use for the bowl. If you want to use noodles, like if you have kids and they kind of, maybe they're not familiar with quinoa, maybe they're not kind of on board with farro, but you could use some couscous. Couscous is another great grain. It's just like little grains of pasta. You could use spiral noodles. You could even use macaroni. I mean, it just kind of, we don't have to practice perfection with meals, especially I guess where kids are involved. If you've got something in there that's familiar to them, and then you can throw on some other things, maybe a little chicken, maybe some beans that they might like, and some cheese, and maybe some vegetables. That could be kind of your, okay, we'll do this, and we'll do pasta in the bottom, but I want to add some vegetables, and then you can let them choose the vegetables. It's always wonderful with kids if you can give them a little bit of say, like, okay, you get to pick the vegetable, and then they are more likely to consume it. And they're even more likely to consume it if they've had a little bit of hand working on the vegetable. So if you can give them a little safety knife and let them kind of put that together, if you have that kind of time. And I understand you may not, you've been at work all day and you may say, I just don't have time to incorporate kids into the kitchen on Tuesday night. Maybe that's something you do on the weekend. But I think it's really great to try and get kids involved in the kitchen. The more involvement they have with their own hands, the more likely they are to eat the foods that they prepared. So, okay, I'll stop talking now. So here we have our tabbouleh purchased at the grocery store. Again, just kind of showing you that you don't have to make everything from scratch. You can buy things from the deli that are ready to go. But if you wanted to, again, like I said, cooking up these grains, this quinoa or this farro, cooks up nice and quick. One thing I do ask for my clients to do, just a little bit of preparation, and this is not a big prep on Sunday, it's a little itty bitty prep on Sunday, is cook a grain on Sunday. On Sunday afternoon, just put on a pot of water and cook a grain, maybe in a larger amount, maybe 2 cups or maybe 3 cups of a grain that you don't intend to eat right then. You just are going to cook it and you're going to shove it in the fridge. And that grain is cooked and it's ready to go, and what that does is that helps make those weeknight meals so much easier. If you've just got a cooked bowl of quinoa or a farro or some pasta or something in the fridge ready to go on a Tuesday night. Another thing I recommend people do on a Sunday is if they could just throw a couple of potatoes in the oven. Don't even cut them, just scrub them of dirt and then put them, in the summertime, I try not to turn on my big oven. I use my toaster oven that you can see back behind me, and I will cook just a couple of potatoes, like larger baking potatoes, and that's it. I don't have any intention of eating them. They're just there, ready to go on the weeknight. And then if you have some cooked potatoes, then you can do all kinds of things. If you've got some cooked potatoes, you could reheat them and just eat them as potatoes. Sometimes I like to chop them up and scramble them with eggs and maybe some peppers and onions, and I make tacos, and so we'll have egg and potato taco night. Or else the other night I sauteed some chorizo sausage and some potatoes and eggs, and for my son, my teenage son, we had taco night with potatoes, eggs, and chorizo. And it was very, very easy because the sausage cooked up quick, the potatoes were already cooked, no big whoop. And I threw in some vegetables because I got a teenager and I'm trying to get him to eat vegetables, and boy, that's difficult. I feel for you who've got teenagers out there that just struggle with vegetables. So, okay, got my grain, that's all ready to go. And I have got a tomato. I'm going to dice this tomato, and it's going to be one of the vegetable components. Oh, you know what? My knife is nice and sharp, and I want to show you why. This is my honing steel. Let's see some questions. If y'all want to, Nicole, if you wanted to ask those questions, if they are questions, I don't mind at all. This is my honing steel, and before I cut vegetables, especially like kind of cruciferous vegetables like Brussels sprouts or broccoli or cauliflower, those kinds of foods will dull my knife pretty quickly. And so before I get started, I try and give my knife a couple of passes on my honing steel. Now this is really not sharpening, but what it is doing is the honing, what it does is it brings the blade back kind of to center. So as I'm cutting my blade, you can't see it, but it'll kind of like widen or kind of get fat and dull. And when I hone it on my steel, I'm bringing the blade kind of back to center. And so I hold it at about 20 degrees. So like this is 90. I don't want to do 90. And this is about 45. 45 is okay, but really the optimal angle is about 20 degrees. And I'm not going to saw back and forth. I'm only going to run it in one direction. Like that, like that, like that. Couple passes on the steel, about 20 degrees. Turn it over, do the other side. And like I said, what I'm doing is I'm just bringing my blade back to center so that I can have a finer blade and easier cutting, more precise cutting. I always say that the safest thing in the kitchen is a sharp knife, and the most dangerous thing is a dull knife. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, I completely understand. It took me a while to get comfortable doing this. You can take your knives to any hardware store. I know the Ace hardware store right up the street has sharpening services, and they will sharpen your knives. And when you get your knives back after they've been sharpened, you'll say, oh my God, I can't believe I've been cutting with these dull knives all this time. It really makes a difference. Makes for safer cutting, and it helps you work faster in the kitchen. And on the weeknight, it's all about working fast, getting dinner done, getting it on the table so you can get to what you want to do, which is hanging out with your family, watching Netflix, whatever it is that you want to do. So I've got a nice sharp knife, and I'm just going to easily dice my tomatoes. I hope you can see. I don't know that you can see. Maybe you can see what I'm doing. I've just got my big wooden cutting board here right in front of me. And I think the two most important things in my kitchen are my sharp knives. This is not an expensive knife. I don't buy expensive knives. I do that just to kind of prove to people that they don't have to have a $300 knife to be effective in the kitchen. But it's very, very helpful that if they can be sharp, but they don't have to be very expensive knives. I think that this knife was, like $30, $40, not that much. And I have other knives that are $13 that I got at kitchen supply stores, and they work great. So I've got some diced tomato, and I also have this bell pepper. Now I cut a bit of this bell pepper a couple of days ago. There's one thing I definitely want to show you. If you take one thing away from today's lesson, it is this thing that I've been using for about a couple of years now, and I call it a vegetable humidor. And all this is a container of baby spinach that I bought at the grocery store. You kind of see baby spinach. I ate the baby spinach and I saved the container. And what I do is I keep my vegetables, my cut vegetables, my lettuces, my herbs, my spinach, in this, and what it does is I call it a vegetable humidor, just like a cigar humidor, and its job is to keep all of the vegetables in here nice and moist. Now, if you bought all this nice produce and you came home and you put it in the refrigerator in the drawers, I call those the drawers of death. That's where really good, expensive produce goes to die. And for years and years, I did it. I would take it and I would, put the vegetables in the drawers and kind of walk away and then forget about it. A lot of the problem is that it's out of your line of sight when you open up the refrigerator. So I keep my vegetable humidor at eye level in my refrigerator. So when I open my refrigerator, it's right there staring at me, and I can see it's clear. That's the most important. That's very important that it's clear. It's not opaque. It's clear. I can see it. Well, I've got a pepper in there. I've got a tomato in there. I've got an onion. I'm gonna scramble eggs. Maybe I should add some peppers and tomatoes to my eggs, because maybe one of your goals is to consume more fiber and more color and more vegetables. And this is one way to kind of ensure that that happens. So I've got a wet paper towel, like a damp little paper towel here, that I keep wadded up in the corner of this vegetable humidor. See, I just kind of keep it there. And through the process of diffusion, the water from the paper towel is constantly infusing the vegetables. So when I pull my vegetables out of here, now this is some parsley. This parsley has been in here going on now. It's 5 days. I bought it 5 days ago, and it's still really, really nice and fresh. And it's because it's been inside this humidor. These onions are just, I think 3 days. I've had them for 3 days. They still, when I like bend it, I can still hear them kind of crack when I bend them. That means that the plant cells still contain some water. They're a thing called, they're turgid, which means they're retaining water. And now keeping these foods in here means that I'm actually eating the food. I'm not throwing it in the trash, because I used to throw away so much produce because I would buy it. I had great intentions, and then life got in the way, and I didn't get to my vegetables, and then they rotted in my refrigerator. So if you take one thing away from me today, get yourself a vegetable humidor. It doesn't cost, I'm not asking you to spend money. Just go buy something like this, some vegetables, eat the vegetables, don't throw it away, and then start keeping your vegetables, your cut vegetables, and other kinds of leafy things in here, eye level at the refrigerator. Open it up, it confronts you. I have to look at it every time you open your fridge, like, oh, there's my vegetables. I better figure out how to eat them or cook them for dinner or whatever. So please consider the humidor. So I'm going to take my tomatoes that I just chopped, and I'm going to arrange them. Now I arrange them in the bowl just like they do in the restaurants, where I will what I've done, let me show you. I've taken my tomatoes, and I've just kind of arranged, whoop, they just spilled. My over kind of in a little area. Now I'm going to do my green pepper, and I'm going to do some onions, I'm going to do some chicken, and I'm going to arrange them all around like that. It's pretty like that. And that's how they do it in the restaurants. Okay, so here, let's do our bell pepper. My bell pepper has been sitting in the vegetable humidor. It is still what we call turgid. I'm going to snap it, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it. You heard that? Yep. And then when I snapped it, some water just sprayed all over my laptop, which means this is a good thing. That means my bell pepper is still got lots of water. It's still fresh. Let me crack it again. It'll go crack. Did you hear that? I love that sound. That means I've got fresh vegetables. That's the whole idea. Any questions? Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between a steel cut or pearl farrow?
A steel cut or pearled? Yeah, that's a great question. This is called pearled, and which means that the outer husk has been removed. Now, I have actually never seen a farro that is not pearled. It's the same thing with rice. Now, brown rice has that outer husk, which is why it takes like 40 to 45 minutes to cook brown rice, and why it only takes 20 minutes to cook white rice, because white rice has been pearled. It has been machined so that that fibrous outer husk is removed. It's also why there's more fiber in brown rice because it hasn't been machined. That's why there's more fiber in brown rice. It's why it takes longer to cook. So this is pearled, which means that the outer husk has been removed. I've not heard of steel cut farro. I have heard of steel cut oats. Now oats are different. The steel cut oats is just a different way of cutting them. It might be more marketing than benefit. I do know that instant oats have lower fiber because they have been pre-cooked or par-cooked in the factory, so that all you have to do is add some hot water and they're done. That makes them instant because they've been par-cooked. But so in the process of par-cooking, some of that fiber has been left to the factory. That starchy water has been left in the factory, and that's why they're lower in fiber. You may notice that your steel cut oats take quite a bit longer to cook because we need all of that time and all of that temp to cut through the outer part of the oat to make it soft on the inside. I hope that answered the question.
Another question was for beginning to put your vegetables in. So when asked, do you usually keep them in there after you wash the vegetables, or you put them right from the store?
I usually put them in right from the store. I have found that if I wash the vegetables, that can kind of increase the soggy, or that can increase the degradation of the vegetables. Is that additional water on the leaves can kind of have an effect. So I typically don't wash them. I wait until right before I'm going to eat them to wash them. I have taken a bag of spinach and taken the entire bag of spinach out and put it in the humidor, and I will get twice the life out of my spinach than if I leave it in the bag. Because if I leave it in the bag, it's like all of it is just kind of, if one leaf gets soggy, then 3 leaves get soggy, and I just find that the soggy just kind of amplifies. But in that, it's got some air around it, and it's staying in this super humid environment, and I can just get double the life out of my spinach if I put it in my vegetable humidor versus keeping it in the bag that it came in. Now, if I'm going to eat the spinach, if I know I'm going to eat this spinach tonight or tomorrow, I'll just leave it in the bag. But if I don't have a plan for the spinach, I will go through the process of putting it into my humidor.
No other questions.
Okay. So I'm doing I don't know if you can see my green peppers. I'm doing my green peppers. I was in the store and they had red peppers, but they wanted like $4.99 a piece for them. I prefer red peppers, but I just wasn't in the mood to spend $5 on a pepper. So I did the green peppers, and that's just one of the when red peppers are on sale, I buy them. But if they're not on sale, I kind of stay away from them. I can answer also questions about grocery shopping, ways to stretch your food dollar. I also have a program called Virtual Grocery Store, if that's something that you might want to do in the future, just kind of going through all the different departments and talking about how to read labels and make smarter choices. Okay, so I've put my green peppers in here. So again, I've got my tabbouleh base. I've got my tomato. It's going to spill over, and then my green peppers and my red tomatoes. It's looking very, very colorful. Also, when you eat this, you will notice that you are chewing. And I always say if you are chewing a lot, you are probably eating a very, very high fiber diet. You may be preventing diabetes, preventing cardiac disease if you are spending a lot of time chewing your food. Ultra processed food is engineered to be very, very soft and to be eaten incredibly quickly, to be digested very, very quickly, spikes your blood sugar, and then an hour later you're hungry. If this sounds familiar to you, I call it you're on the sugar train or you're on the flour train. You're constantly chasing hunger all day long. Your food does not require a lot of chewing. It burns through you very, very fast. Then maybe it's time to not change everything overnight. I find that when people make like these big radical sweeping changes, like they go 0 to 60, they'll do it for a while and then they become tired and bored, and then they're back to their old ways. I am an advocate of slow, sustainable changes made over time Those are the kinds that are likely to stick. So if there's just, maybe you want to just look at one food that's an ultra processed food. Okay, I'll give you an example, like granola bars. I'm not really a fan of granola bars. They tend to have a lot of added sugar. And again, they don't require a lot of chewing, especially the chewy kind, and they may not stay with you long. Maybe the thing to switch to is your, what I call like a DIY trail mix. A collection of peanuts, maybe some raisins, maybe some of these sunflower seeds, some walnuts, and mix all of that together in a bowl. I'd rather you ate like a trail mix of minimally processed nuts and dried fruit than something that came from a factory that may have emulsifiers and flavor enhancers and other kinds of interesting oils that really maybe we should try and stay away. The more you can get away from foods that are processed, that come in packages, and back to foods that are minimally processed, the better off we'll be. This is some chicken. I baked up some thighs. I didn't really, just a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper. I put it again in my toaster oven because it's 90 billion degrees outside. So I try not to run my big oven in the summer. So I do a lot of toaster oven cooking. And I just cooked a couple of chicken thighs in the toaster oven, kept them in the fridge. I ate one or two, and these other two, today I took the meat off the bone, and this is just thigh meat that I took off the bone of the chicken thighs. Now, one thing I do recommend my clients do, if they want to buy a rotisserie chicken on Sunday when they go grocery shopping, and then the nice thing is they've got a protein that is just ready to go. When like Tuesday night or Wednesday night dinner hits, you've got a protein that's cooked and it's ready to go. A client recently told me about a service she uses called Trifecta. I haven't really looked into it, but she says it's this fantastic, just pre-cooked meat. It's really just you kind of do whatever you want to it. Pre-cooked chicken, pre-cooked beef, pre-cooked pork, and you just it comes and you just kind of use it as you would say this kind of chicken. And she said it's really made a difference with her weeknight cooking. I'm sure there's other services out there, but the one she was using was called Trifecta. I hadn't heard of it. So if you want to do one thing that is very helpful, if you make a meatloaf on a Sunday, and you want to make 2 meatloafs, one to eat now and one to kind of have during the week, it's nice to have some cooked meat in the fridge ready to go. So rotisserie chicken meatloaf, if you wanted to make some meatballs in advance. I've found that if I have a grain that's cooked and if I have a protein that's ready to go, if you do eat meat, then I find that cooking at home doesn't feel like such a daunting task because you're not starting at zero. Like if you want to use a football term, you're starting on the 60, 70 yard line of dinner when your protein is cooked and your grain is already cooked. Just those two things can be very, very helpful with getting dinner on the table. So I've got this cooked thigh meat chicken that's been in the fridge. Again, this could be rotisserie chicken. And I'm just going to put some of this chicken in here. This is this is 2 thighs worth. So it means if one bowl would be 1 thigh's worth of meat. And then, so I've got this left. This is the meat from the other thigh. Okay, so I've got the base, the grain base. I've got tomatoes, green peppers, and I've got the chicken. Now, I like to add some crunchies on top. And one thing I really love to add are sunflower seeds on top. They add a nice crunch. They add a little bit of salt, definitely a lot of like nutty flavor. So I will add just a little bit of these sunflower seeds on top. And I want to add some walnuts because I have them. That's the thing. Open your fridge. What do you have? Do you have some pecans? Okay, throw pecans. Do you have walnuts? Do you have some chopped almonds? Throw it on. Do you have raisins? Throw it on. I will often, I always have apples. Sometimes I'll just cut an apple and I will add an apple to it. And believe it or not, an apple is it's sweet, but then when you put on a dressing, today I'm going to use this toasted sesame dressing from Trader Joe's. You could just use your regular vinaigrette. I know it might sound a little weird, but the combination of sweet and kind of savory salty is a nice combination. So I might add the apple on that, but this is getting to be kind of a big bowl. It may take me a while to eat it. In fact, this is what I'm gonna eat when we're finished. It'll be my lunch. So I might add the apple, I'm not sure. But an apple is something you can always add to a bowl. It's kind of a nice, something different. I'm just gonna chop these walnuts. Again, these are just raw. They don't have to be raw. They can be roasted, doesn't matter. They can be salted, that's okay. These are just some walnuts. Again, good omega-3 fats in the walnuts. And then these walnuts are great in my DIY trail mix. I like to add the walnuts. The nice thing about that DIY trail mix is that each nut has its own kind of level of crunch. So there's a lot of variety to it. And then when you get a little raisin, it's a little burst of sweet. So that's really nice too. So let me sprinkle my walnuts on here. Any questions? Any questions? Or any, are any of you making bowls at home, and what kinds of things do you like to add? Because it's limitless, the way you can put together a bowl.
No questions right now, but I know for me, I love putting together breakfast bowls. Those are my favorite. I love breakfast. So I think about breakfast in a bowl, that's my go-to.
What do you use as the base?
Usually I'm making more protein base with that, so scrambled eggs.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do maybe French toast sometimes, I'm feeling really adventurous with that. But just keep it simple: bacon, avocado, so forth. Like maybe veggies as well.
Okay. I have a recipe. I'd be happy to send you. There are breakfast quinoa bowls, and so quinoa is one of these things that it's completely neutral, and whatever you mix with it, that's what it becomes. If you mix savory with it, like garlic and oil, that's what it becomes. But if you mix cinnamon and honey with it, it becomes something very, very sweet. The nice thing about quinoa, there's nothing wrong with oatmeal, but if you want to increase your protein intake in the morning, quinoa is one way to do that. So these quinoa bowls, you can dice an apple, you can cook it and you put some honey on top, you can put some applesauce on top, you could even throw a dollop of yogurt on top. And these morning quinoa bowls, they turn into a really, really nice, high protein. Now, the serving size of this quinoa is a 1/4 cup dry, which means, so whatever is dry, you double for cooked, because most grains will double when cooked. Most grains double when cooked. So cooked would be a 1/2 cup of the quinoa, and the protein in that is quite high. It is 5 grams. So 5 grams for just a 1/2 cup of this stuff cooked. And if you wanted to do a full cup of the quinoa, that would be 10 grams of protein. So 10 grams of protein in breakfast, and then all of the nice fiber you get with, which the fiber is 3 grams. So you would, if you did a full cup of this cooked quinoa, you'd get 10 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber. And that, my friends, is a breakfast that's gonna stick with you for a long, long time. Throw on an apple, like I said, apple, honey, cinnamon. It could be great. I'm happy to share that recipe with you. Walnuts on top of that would be fantastic too for a morning quinoa breakfast bowl. Oh, you know what? And I want to talk about it on this bowl. I put chicken, and because I eat meat, but I also have over the past couple of years really increased my consumption of plant proteins. And this has been just through experimentation and really trying hard, because I don't dislike meat. I'm just trying to get more fiber and more plants into my diet as I get older and older. And a lot of the people I'm working with are like, I want to go plant-based. And I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to replace some animal proteins with some plant proteins. And this is one of the ways I like to do it. This is just a can of store brand garbanzo beans, very inexpensive. I find that store brand, when it comes to beans, store brand and national brand like Bush's, I find that they're comparable. I will buy store brand beans because I find that the national brands are not that much better. So I would open this and then drain it, of course, and then rinse and then rinse and rinse again, so that I'm sending all of the salt down the drain. Now, some of you may not know this, but metal cans, the food is cooked inside the can. So they put the raw beans in here with some salt and some water, and they seal it, and then they run them through these gigantic industrial ovens, and the beans actually cook inside the can, which is why when you open it, you'll notice that the water in here is kind of slimy, and that slime, nothing wrong with it, is the starch that has cooked out of the beans. And it's also some protein that's cooked out of the beans. And there isn't anything wrong with it. You may not like it. Just put it down the drain. But that's why beans and other cooked vegetables, they come in kind of this murky water, is because the food has been cooked inside the can. So if you wanted this to be a vegan bowl, you would, of course, not do the chicken, and you wouldn't add the cheese that I've got 2 kinds of cheese. You wouldn't add the cheese, and your dressing would be a vegan dressing. This happens to be one of my favorites. It's a toasted sesame dressing. It is completely vegan if you wanted to do a vegan dressing. Most salad dressings are like a straight vinaigrette. Is just oil, water, garlic, salt, and pepper, and that's totally vegan. Nothing magical about that. This is one of my favorites. This is a processed food. The ingredients in it are long. Some of them I cannot pronounce, and many of them don't come in a commercial kitchen. If you'd like to make your own vinaigrette, I can show you that once I get my bowl assembled. Very, very simply with olive oil, vinegar, and garlic. I can do that for you. So instead of the chicken, if you wanted it to be a vegan bowl, you would just rinse these and use garbanzo beans on your in your bowl. Other great beans are, I'm a fan of cannellini beans, which is a Great Northern or a white bean. Those are great in a bowl. Black beans are definitely a favorite. And then also kidney beans or pinto beans are also a good choice for this. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to, I've got some shredded white cheddar cheese. Another favorite on these bowls is feta cheese, if you have some feta. But this is what I had in the fridge, and so I'm going to just sprinkle a little bit of the shredded white cheddar cheese onto my bowl. And then I have some grated Parmesan cheese too. I think that the cheese just kind of gives it an extra little flavor, a little bit of extra fat, a little bit of extra fun. No problem. I don't really want you to be so terrified of things like nuts and cheese and and olives and avocados and things that contain fat. Really, what I'm so kind of pounding through people's heads is I'd like you to stay away from things that are have lots of refined white flours, lots of added sugars, kind of this combination of sugar, salt, fat, flour, which is the backbone of a lot of processed foods. And these ingredients all by themselves are not the problem. No one is drinking oil or drinking butter, right? And we're not tipping back the sugar bowl and just drinking sugar nor salt, and we're not just eating scoops of flour, right? The individual ingredients are not the issue. It's when they are combined in using industrial cooking techniques, the sugar, salt, fat, flour, that we're really, I think, seeing unprecedented levels of diabetes and cardiac disease, and it's this ultra processed foods. So here's my bowl. It is heavy. It is a very, very heavy bowl. That's the other thing. When you're eating food that is very, very high in fiber and is minimally processed, the food is going to be very heavy because it's full of water and it's full of fiber. These other ultra processed foods, they don't have a lot of water because water promotes bacterial growth. And so food manufacturers know if the food contains a lot of water, it may spoil. And so industrial food techniques will remove water, and then other things are added to help keep the food fresh or help keep it moist. this bowl is very, very heavy. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So again, the base is the quinoa tabbouleh mixture, green peppers, red tomatoes, of course my chicken thigh, got nuts and seeds, and then 2 kinds of cheese. And I think if I got this at a restaurant, I'd be just very, very pleased. And I'm gonna add my dressing, and then this is what I'll eat. Now I know I've been talking for a long time, and it seems like, boy, this is a lot of work. Truthfully, I could pull this bowl together very, very quickly in about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, and I'm ready to go with dinner. Do you all have any questions? And if not, I can go ahead and put together a vinaigrette, a mason jar vinaigrette for you to show you how I do that before we're finished.
I don't see any other questions, but if you guys have any questions, I know we're 10 minutes till 1, so definitely put them in the chat. If you have any additional questions for Wendy, she can definitely answer those before today's class.
All right. Now here's one of my little mason jars. I just pulled this from the drawer, and I use these little mason jars to make my salad dressing. Here's just a little mason jar, of course, with the obligatory lids. Let me get my my vinegar. Where is my vinegar? All right, here's my vinegar. Okay, so I have just a rice wine vinegar. No big deal. You could do a red wine vinegar. You could do a balsamic vinegar. You could even just do kind of a regular old vinegar, or you can use lemon juice. Vinaigrette is nothing but a mixture of oil and acid. And the acid can be either vinegar or it can be lemon. When I make a Greek salad dressing, I always use lemon juice. And I've even made a vinaigrette with lime, which I've served to my friends, and they say, I love this, but there's something weird. What's going on? And I said, it's because the acid is made of lime, and you might not be used to that flavor, but nobody's complained so far. They ate all the food. They ate all the salad with the lime vinaigrette. So again, it's oil. I use olive oil. Now this is a decanter that I keep at the back of my stove. It is Greek olive oil. Since y'all are in Florida, you're probably very familiar with Tarpon Springs. So a couple times a year, I'll go on up to Tarpon Springs and I'll buy one of those big, like, gallon metal jugs of imported Greek olive oil, and then I pour it into this, and I keep this at the back of my stove. So a vinaigrette is typically 3 parts oil and 1 part acid. That is a traditional vinaigrette. If you want it to be a lighter vinaigrette, you can always do 50% oil, like a 1-1 ratio. You can do 50% oil and 50% vinegar. Why don't I do that for you today? So I'm gonna just eyeball, that's my oil. And then my vinegar, I'm gonna do a 50-50. All right, okay. So I have 50% oil, 50% vinegar, and you see they don't mix. Oil and water don't mix. That's the oldest science story in the book. What I do like to do is add a splash of mustard. Now, mustard in a vinaigrette acts as an emulsifier. An emulsifier is something that brings oil and water together. So here, shake, shake, shake. This is just a store brand Dijon mustard. No big whoop. And I'm just gonna put a squirt of mustard into my vinaigrette. If it'll come out. Come on. Come on. There we go. Maybe another squirt. Okay, good. Garlic. My t-shirt today needs more garlic. I think that everything needs more garlic. So I have some cloves of garlic here. Now, the big thing of garlic is called the bulb, and these individual pieces that come off are called the cloves. These are called the cloves. I'm gonna put one big Hulkin clove of garlic into my vinaigrette. The way I get the paper off, I've got this piece of garlic clove has a thin paper around it, and what I do is I smash it underneath the blade of my knife. So I'm going to lay the blade of my knife on top of it, and with the heel of my hand I'm going to smash. Give it a couple or 2 smashes, and then see this paper just kind of falls off. Just look at that, just nice, just nice. Now I can use a garlic press, Or I could just kind of go old school and just chop it. I think just for today I'm going to chop it because I don't feel like cleaning my garlic press. I've chopped off the edge. This is where it was connected to the bulb. And I'm going to give it another smash and another smash and another smash. Make it kind of flat so that I can kind of come in and chop it. And then the more you chop it, the more intense garlic flavor you will get. I even watched a chef once, and he took the knife and he was smashing the garlic into, like smashing the garlic into it. He was making a garlic paste because he wanted garlic with a capital G. He wanted intense garlic flavor, but I'm not gonna smash that. I'm just gonna chop it fine and then add it right to my jar of vinaigrette. Okay. All right. So to recap, I have 1 part olive oil, 1 part rice wine vinegar, 1 big clove of garlic. This is some fresh cracked pepper. Oh, and mustard, of course. A couple of squirts of just prepared regular deli mustard, and you could use yellow mustard. It doesn't matter, and that functions as an emulsifier. It helps the vinaigrette stick to the vegetables. That little bit of mustard really is just kind of magic in this. And of course, I'm going to add some salt. Let's add just a little itty bitty. I'm grabbing a pinch of salt from my salt container. So I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt. Okay, that's enough. And the longer this vinaigrette sits, the stronger, the funkier, the more potent it gets. And then, so I just get the lid on nice and tight and shake. And there's my vinaigrette. I like these homemade vinaigrettes. I mean, I like this. I like to buy dressings that are prepared in the grocery store, but I find that when I make a homemade vinaigrette, it's so powerful and potent, I use less of it because this stuff is kicking. And the longer it sits, like I said, the more intense it will get. You could also add fresh herbs to this. That would be nice. Or like I said, you could make it with lemon juice or lime juice, and it would be a bit lighter. And it's when I make a Greek salad, that's what I do. Any questions?
No questions, but everything looks really good.
Yeah, no, it's smelling very, very garlicky in here, and I'm gonna put this dressing on my bowl and eat it, and I'm gonna stink all day, but that's all right, because I think the more onions and garlic I eat, I swear that I don't get colds. It's just anecdotal, but I eat a lot of garlic and onions, and I stay pretty healthy. I think there's something to the garlic and the onions about either keeping people away from me. Maybe that's why I don't get sick, because I stink, or maybe there is something to a diet that's definitely a diet that's high in fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, minimally processed foods for having a strong immune system. But there's something to the garlic and the onions that I just swear by that, and that might just be some old country folk medicine too. All right. Oh, and then everybody says, how long will this last? This stuff will last months and months. I've had some of this sit in my fridge for 6 months, and it's still good. Thing is, bacteria won't grow. Bacteria doesn't like acid. Bacteria doesn't like the garlic, and it doesn't really like the salt either. And so this stuff I keep with the lid on in the fridge, and it has yet to turn on me. It has yet to turn on me. It is probably all of the acid and the garlic. I will make this homemade vinaigrette, and I will go to a party with it, and I'll bring a salad, and I'll bring this vinaigrette, and every time someone says, oh my God, what's going on with this salad? Why is it so good? And I think it might be that people aren't used to a homemade, really fresh vinaigrette, and the flavor of this just kind of is not what they're expecting, because they're used to more bottled or salad dressing or dressings that come from the grocery store or have been kind of sitting on shelves for a long time. And when you make something fresh like this, and you saw how easy it was for me to put this together. every time I take this to a party, people are like, God, what is that? And it's olive oil, it's vinegar, and it's garlic, and that is it.
That looks really good. Any last minute questions? You can definitely put them in the chat. Everyone's saying that they just made the dressing. Awesome.
Oh, good. Good. And if you, I've also made this in like an old pickle jar. Well, no, pickle jars, they retain their pickle smell. Don't use pickle jars. I just use jelly jars. I've used old jelly jars to make vinaigrette. That always works too. If you don't have a mason jar, just an old jelly jar is fine.
Very simple. And we have those ingredients all the time, I think, on the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because these are what I would consider staple kitchen ingredients: oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, mustard. You should probably always have those kinds of things in your pantry. Other things I always have in the pantry: I always have some quinoa. I pretty much always have farro. I try and always have some kind of a nut or a seed: walnuts, sunflower seeds, raisins. These are just things that over the years I've just kind of always have that kind of stuff in the pantry, so that I'm always ready to do some cooking. Cans of beans. I always have cans of beans. Pretty much always have apples, because they don't go bad. You know, they don't go bad on me. And then don't forget this. This is a game changer. You hopefully use this and you won't throw away vegetables anymore, because that is just a crime. Hurts your heart, hurts your wallet. Don't do it.
That is true. Well, I don't see any other questions. Everyone's just saying thank you for all the information. It's a great cooking demo. So with that, I will thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you again, Winnie, for another great information regarding nutrition, but also these yummy recipes we learned today. So I really appreciate your time for joining us today as well.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Always do. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.